They tell you the hardest part of being a fireman is the waiting, the silent anticipation between sirens. But that's not true. It's what you carry back home that eats at you. What your mind won't let go of. I was 34 when I started having trouble sleeping. Not because of the fires, not even the injuries, those you trained for. No, it started with one particular call. House fire, 3 a.m., reported possible entrapment. I remember the dispatcher's voice crackling through the radio like she didn't want to say what she was saying. We were second engine on scene, so most of the structure was already engulfed by the time we got there. Heavy smoke, no visibility. The lieutenant gave the go-ahead to do a sweep of the lower floor. I went in with Reynolds, a rookie I'd worked with maybe twice before. Good kid, too eager. The floor was already half collapsed in places, but the back hallway was still intact. We found the stairs leading to the basement, and that's when I heard something. Not a cry, not even movement. It was humming. A child's voice, soft and steady, like a lullaby with no melody. I told Reynolds to stay put and crept down, radio in one hand, flashlight in the other. The smoke was thicker below, almost wet. And the air, it wasn't hot, not like it should have been. It felt still. Dead. Like the fire didn't want to come down there. I followed the sound to a small laundry room. The door was cracked. When I pushed it open, the first thing I saw was the red light of the washing machine. That eerie glow you get when a cycle's done, and it's just blinking. The second thing I saw, or thought I saw, was a girl sitting cross-legged on the floor. She didn't look up. She was just humming. I dropped to one knee and reached out. "Hey, sweetheart, I'm gonna get you out, okay? My name's Matt. Can you hear me?" No reaction. I reached for my radio. "Command, I've located a miner in the basement. Preparing for extraction." But Reynolds' voice cut through first. "Lieutenant says we're pulling out. Structure's about to go." I turned back to the girl. Still humming. The machine behind her blinked once. And she vanished. Not like she ran. Not like smoke. Just gone. I swear on my badge I didn't imagine her. The floor where she'd been sitting was warm. Not hot, warm. Like someone had been sitting there for hours. There were footprints leading in, but none out. By the time I got upstairs, the rear section of the house had collapsed. We were lucky to make it out without anyone else getting hurt. They never found any bodies, though there was evidence a family had lived there. A father and daughter, recently divorced. He'd had custody. There's no record of a girl dying in that fire. But I kept hearing her. Every time I'd gear up for a call, I'd hear faint humming. I chalked it up to stress, to trauma, to whatever therapists call it when your brain doesn't want to let go. Until a few weeks later, during a routine inspection of our station's storage wing, I saw something. Tucked in a corner was an old washer unit, unplugged, rusted out. Should have been thrown away years ago. Its light was blinking red. And from behind it, I swear, I heard that humming again. I didn't tell anyone. What could I say? "Hey, Cap, one of the unplugged washers in our station is blinking and there's a ghost girl singing behind it." No. I kept quiet. Told myself maybe someone plugged it in as a prank. But I checked later, no power cord. Just a hollow shell. Over the next few weeks, the humming started popping up in other calls. Not loud. Just faint, like a radio tuned halfway between stations. We'd roll up on a garage fire, or a kitchen grease job, and I'd hear it, barely there, somewhere just out of reach. The worst was during a false alarm at an elementary school. Nothing active, just a triggered sensor, probably dust in the ductwork. I was doing a walkthrough with one of the janitors when I passed the music room. Door was locked. Nobody inside. Still, I stopped. I heard it again. The humming. Same tone. Same low, childlike pitch. Coming from the vents this time. I tried the handle, locked. The janitor looked at me funny when I asked for the key. "I don't have one," he said. "That room's been sealed since last semester." Burst pipe. But when I pressed my ear to the door, the humming stopped. Back at the station that night, I sat on my bunk, watching the hallway. The washer, still blinking. I finally told Reynolds. He'd been distant since the house fire, kept his head down, avoided talking about that night. When I asked if he remembered the girl, he nodded slowly. I didn't want to say anything, he admitted. Thought I imagined her. I told him about the washer. He went pale. Did she ever speak? He asked. No, I said. Just hummed. Reynolds didn't sleep that night. Neither did I. We agreed to go back to the scene. The house had been condemned, nothing left but the foundation and some scorched flooring. Still, I needed to see it. Needed to make sure there was nothing I missed. We arrived just after sunset. Everything looked dead. Even the grass around the property was patchy and pale. We stepped over the tape and went down into what was left of the basement. The laundry room corner was there. Or what remained of it. That's when Reynolds noticed it. Do you hear that? I did. Not humming. Breathing. Slow, shallow, like someone trying not to be noticed. I spun, flashlight scanning every angle. The beam hit a spot on the far wall, graffiti maybe, or burn-in soot patterns. But it wasn't random. It was writing. Childish scrawl, as if done in crayon. Daddy says don't go. We stared, not speaking. Then the temperature dropped. I don't mean a chill. I mean cold. Visible breath cold. My radio crackled, then died. Behind us, the sound of metal, like a washer door creaking open. We turned. There was no washer. No machine. No door. Just cinder block. But we heard it, clear as day. The unmistakable click of a latch unhooking. We didn't run. We left. Calm and fast. Didn't speak until we were in the truck. I think she's following us, Reynolds finally said. I didn't answer. Because I already knew. Since that night I've moved 3 times. Different towns. New firehouses. No washer units in the bunk wings. But I still hear it. When the station gets quiet. When I close my eyes. Just beneath the sound of silence, there's humming. And every time I hear it, I know I'm being watched. By something that was never saved. I joined the fire department straight out of the Navy. Small town, low call volume. Most of our work was brush fires and the occasional traffic collision. I liked the quiet. Until we got assigned Bunker 3. Our station had 5 bunkers, individual sleeping quarters on the far side of the bay. I usually stayed in Bunker 1, closest to the kitchen. But that night, our usual rooms were being fumigated, so we had to shift. I drew Bunker 3. Everyone else groaned when I did. I asked why. Garcia gave a weak smile and said, "Place is bad luck." Bad luck? No one sleeps well in there, he said. That's all. It didn't look any different. Same narrow cot, same olive walls, same old fire retardant gear hanging by the door. If anything, it was cleaner than the rest. A little too clean. I unpacked, settled in, and shut off the lights. My body was dead tired, but my brain wouldn't follow. Something felt wrong. Not scary, just restless. Then, at 3:41 a.m., I heard whispering. I sat up, convinced someone was playing a prank. But it wasn't coming from outside. It was in the room. Behind me. I turned. Nothing. The gear was hanging untouched. The corner shadows were empty. I even checked under the bed. Nothing. Still, the whispering came back, this time closer. Clearer. It wasn't English. It sounded like breathing and muttering at the same time. Wet syllables strung together too fast to understand. I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. Not stuck. Just wouldn't. It was like something was pushing back. The light flickered once, and I saw it. For a split second, reflected in the narrow window, there was a man standing behind me. But when I turned, I was alone again. I slammed my shoulder into the door, and it finally gave. The hallway light felt like salvation. I stumbled out, breathing like I'd run 5 miles. Garcia was coming out of the bathroom, squinting at me. "You saw him, didn't you?" he asked. I just stared. The man, he said. The one in Bunker 3. I told him I'd only seen a reflection. No real face. No features. Just the shape of a man. He nodded like that made perfect sense. He shows up sometimes, Garcia said. But only if you're alone. I didn't go back to sleep that night. Nobody said anything more the next morning. No jokes, no teasing. Just quiet glances. It was worse the second night. I kept the light on and tried to stay awake, but at some point, I must have nodded off. I woke up to a clicking sound. Like metal on metal. Slow. Steady. It was coming from the locker in the corner, the one with the fire suit. The door creaked open an inch. I didn't move. Another inch. Still no one there. Just a single glove hanging from the hook, swaying ever so slightly, like someone had just pulled their hand out of it. Then the whispering returned, only now it had rhythm. A chant, almost. The glove hit the floor. The air went still. I didn't wait for more. I grabbed my bag and left the room, heading straight for the apparatus bay. I slept on the bench between two engines, lights on, radio buzzing softly in the background. But even there, in the open, I couldn't shake the feeling I'd brought something with me. And that it was still watching. From behind the gear locker. I didn't go back to Bunker 3. Garcia covered for me. Said I'd had a bad night, which technically wasn't a lie. I spent the next few weeks avoiding that side of the station completely. But the weird thing is, no one acted like it was unusual. It was almost like they expected me to rotate out. Like I'd passed some unspoken test. Then, one night, I caught Chief Daniels alone in his office. He was sipping coffee, going over reports. I asked him straight up, "What happened in Bunker 3? He didn't look surprised. Didn't even blink. There was a guy. Years ago. Before your time. That's all he said at first. I waited. Finally, he leaned back and sighed. Name was Keller. Real old school. Worked here back when things were slower. He lived in Bunker 3. What happened to him? I asked. Chief stared past me. We found him in his gear. Fully suited. Sitting on the cot with his helmet on, breathing mask down. No fire. No call. Just sitting there. Dead. He paused. No signs of struggle. Autopsy said heart attack. But the way he was dressed, it was like he was expecting to go out on a call. Like he heard something. That was 20 years ago. No one used the room since, until last month, when a new hire accidentally assigned me there. I asked Chief why they didn't just close it off. Because if we close it, he said slowly, it's like we're admitting it's real. And I don't want to give it that power. I didn't press further. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about Keller. About the way the whispering had curled around my ears. The soft clicking from the locker. Like someone getting dressed. 3 nights later, Garcia shook me awake during a shift. You left your gear in the bay, right? He asked, eyes wide. I nodded. Then why is it hanging in Bunker 3? We went together. The door was closed. I had never gone back in, not even to grab the rest of my stuff. But now, through the small reinforced window, I could see my fire jacket and helmet, hanging neatly on the hooks inside. Like someone had laid them out for me. The lights were off. I stepped back. Did you move them? I asked Garcia. He shook his head. We opened the door. The room was freezing. Colder than the rest of the station. Not normal for May. Not normal for indoors. My gear was there, yes, but it wasn't just hung up. It was arranged exactly like Keller's had been in the report. Fully zipped. Mask tucked in. Gloves crossed over the chest plate. Waiting. I reached to touch it, and the whispering returned. Louder this time. I couldn't move. It felt like being paralyzed by a memory I didn't own. Then Garcia grabbed my arm and yanked me back. We left the gear. Locked the room. Later, I checked the logs. The bunker had been locked since the incident with Keller. But someone had signed it out last night. The name on the sheet? K. Keller. Neat handwriting. Red pen. I don't think Keller ever left. I think something called him in, and he's been waiting for someone else to finish the job. A few weeks ago, we sealed the room again. But sometimes, when I walk past it on night duty, I hear the soft hiss of a breathing mask. And once, just once, I saw the faint glow of a flashlight beam flicker under the door. But no one was inside. And my shift started like any other. Paperwork, drill prep, second cup of coffee. It was a Tuesday, usually quiet. At 11:43 a.m., the alarm came through. Residential fire. Middle of nowhere. Just outside of town, deep in the hills. We didn't even know there were houses out there. Dispatch had only coordinates, no address. We arrived 20 minutes later. A narrow gravel road led to a 2-story cabin, completely engulfed. Thick, oily smoke. The kind that clings to your lungs long after the mask comes off. But there was something wrong. The fire wasn't spreading. It was tall, loud, angry, but didn't move beyond the walls. Contained. Like it didn't want to leave the structure. We made a perimeter. I suited up and went in with Porter. No word yet on residents. Inside, the smoke was bizarre. It hung low, hugging the floor, but never rose. Almost like steam from a kettle, rolling in slow waves. We found the living room, and that's when I saw it, writing. Dozens of words burned into the drywall. Not with a pen. Scorched in. Single phrases. I heard you. He's still in the walls. Stop looking. Porter radioed command, asking for backup. His voice cracked. Not from the smoke, he was scared. Then we heard it, a series of fast, sharp knocks from inside the wall. Not behind it. Inside. I tapped back instinctively. 3 knocks. A pause. 3 more. Porter backed away, whispering. That's Morse. I used to know Morse from the academy. We stood there listening to the rhythm. 3 short. 3 long. 3 short again. SOS. We found the wall section and started pulling. The drywall was hot, but not on fire. Underneath, nothing. Just studs. No crawl space. No ducts. Nothing. Still, the knocking continued. Closer now. Louder. Then, without warning, the air cleared. The smoke just vanished, like a curtain being yanked away. The fire outside the house was still raging, but inside it was silent. And cold. The walls were covered in soot. Not just random patches, shapes. Fingers. Hands. Pressed from the inside, as if someone had been clawing their way out. That's when Porter screamed. He'd stepped into the kitchen and was staring at the oven. I followed his gaze. Inside the oven window was a face. Just a reflection, I thought. A trick of light. Until the mouth started moving. No sound. Just the movement of lips. Slow, deliberate. I read them without meaning to. 3 words. Get out now! We bolted. Outside, the fire had already started to die down. Too fast, too sudden. We reported the findings, burn marks, the writing, the noises, but nothing was visible when the investigators came. No charred words, no signs of tampering. They chalked it up to hallucination from stress. That night, back at the station, I noticed something. My gear bag smelled like smoke. Not uncommon, except I'd cleaned it twice. Worse, inside the side pocket was a folded piece of paper. I didn't put it there. It had only one thing written on it, in black grease pencil. You heard him too. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I called Porter. He didn't answer. And when I drove to his apartment, I saw smoke trailing from his kitchen window. No sirens. No calls. Just smoke. I called it in before I even got out of the car. No flames, just a thin column of smoke seeping through Porter's kitchen window. But I knew something was wrong. The kind of wrong that doesn't burn hot. The kind that hides inside walls. I didn't wait for backup. I kicked the door in. The smoke inside wasn't heavy. More like steam again, but it carried that same clinging stench from the cabin fire, oily, unnatural. Porter wasn't in the living room, or the hall. I found him in the kitchen. He was standing at the stove, fully dressed, coat zipped, boots laced. Staring straight ahead. Not blinking. The oven door was open. Inside, it was cold. Off. He turned to look at me. His eyes were red, not irritated, just red. Like something inside had leaked out. "You saw it too?" he whispered. I didn't know what to say. He held up a burnt scrap of drywall, the edges blackened and curling. Scrawled across it in shaky lettering were more words. "No escape if you stay quiet." Porter looked sick. Not flu sick, soul sick. He clutched the drywall like it was a lifeline. "I hear it all the time now," he said. "At night. Tapping. Breathing." I backed away slowly and called for EMS. They took him to the hospital. I followed behind the ambulance, but when I got there, they told me he'd been admitted under psychiatric observation. Wouldn't speak. Just kept knocking on the walls of his room in patterns no one could decipher. I tried to forget. But it followed me. A few nights later, back at the station, I heard it again. Faint tapping. I thought it was the boiler. Then it started coming in 2s and 3s, just like the wall. I banged back. 3 knocks. Silence. Then, a reply, 3 knocks. 3 again. Then a pause. Then, 1 knock. Long. Louder than the others. Not a reply. A correction. That's when I remembered. The knocks we heard in the house weren't an SOS. We had counted wrong. The pattern was never 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. It had been 2 short, then 3 long, then 1 short. I pulled up an old Morse chart and decoded it. It spelled out a word. KILL. I stopped sleeping. Every creak in the walls became suspect. The air in the bunk room began to smell like burnt copper. The day staff didn't notice. They never did. I started seeing flashes in the corner of my eye. Shadows slipping behind doors. My own reflection moving half a second too slow. And every night, something new appeared in my gear bag. Scraps of scorched insulation. Charred fingernails. A matchbook I never owned. The final straw came when I found soot prints on the inside of my helmet visor. I turned it in. Told the chief I needed time off. He didn't ask questions. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was just a photo. Porter's hospital room. The wall behind his bed was smeared black with handprints, dozens of them. All the same size. Child-sized. Beneath the handprints, someone had written a single phrase in soot. "He never left. I don't know who he is. I don't want to know. But sometimes, when I drive through that part of the hills, I see smoke rising where the house used to be. Thin, controlled. Contained. Like it's waiting for another set of ears. The firehouse has a radio room, an old, wood-paneled closet filled with analog gear we barely use anymore. These days, everything runs through our trucks or personal comms. But the old system still hums, still buzzes. Always on standby. It started with interference. 3 weeks ago, during a thunderstorm, we picked up something strange on the emergency channel. Not lightning. Not feedback. It sounded like a voice, buried in static, repeating the same phrase. "Engine 12, not out, not out." We ignored it at first. Old signals bounce. Ghost chatter, we called it. But there was no engine 12. Not anymore. That rig had been totaled in a crash 5 years ago. Rollover during a response. 2 dead. It had been stripped, sold, scrapped. But the next day, the voice came back. Clearer. "Engine 12, still inside, still inside." I asked around. Garcia remembered the crash. Said it happened upstate. Foggy night, sharp curve, no survivors. He didn't like talking about it. We checked the logs. There had been an engine 12 in service until 2019, stationed in a rural district. Responded to a barn fire. Lost control en route. One survivor, barely. He retired 6 months later and moved off-grid. That should have been the end of it. But the voice kept showing up. Always the same channel. Always around 2:37 a.m. repeating. Not out, still inside, engine 12. It never changed. Until it did. One night, I stayed late doing inventory. The station was dark, empty but for the hum of compressors. At exactly 2:37, the radio clicked on. No one had touched it. Then, still inside. Matt, you there? It said my name. I froze. No one else knew I was on shift. No open comms. No reason the radio should even be powered. I approached the mic, half sure I was dreaming. I pressed the call button. This is Station 9. Identify yourself. A pause. Then, you left me. I backed away. No one had ever said that to me before. Not like that. Not in that voice, low, hoarse, wet. It continued. You left me in the engine, it got hot, Matt. So hot. I shut off the power. The room stayed silent for 3 days. Then the smell started. Burnt plastic. Inside the room. We had the circuit box checked, no faults. But the smell lingered. And then, the next message. Written. Scorched into the foam padding on the radio wall. Check the rig. No one else saw it. I scraped it clean before morning. But I checked the truck. And I found something. In engine 9, behind the passenger seat, tucked where the medbag sits, was a blackened radio earpiece. Not ours. The connector was wrong. Old. I brought it to our technician. He stared at it a long time, then said, This is from an '09 unit. They don't make these anymore. He asked where I found it. I lied. Said I wasn't sure. But that night, it buzzed again. Only now, the voice wasn't begging. It was laughing. Slow. Raspy. Like someone whose lungs had melted and was still trying to chuckle. I didn't sleep. And when I checked the cab again the next day, the windshield was fogged from the inside, with a single handprint left in the condensation. Fingers long. Too long. The handprint was gone by morning. I didn't tell the crew. I just kept cleaning. Pretended nothing had happened. But I started taking night shifts alone. Not by choice, more like instinct. I didn't want anyone else involved. 2:37 a.m. became a ritual. I'd sit in the bay, watch the red emergency lights pulse across the ceiling, and wait. Sometimes the voice wouldn't come. But I always knew it was close. When it did arrive, it wasn't a recording. It talked to me. Knew me. You don't remember me. It whispered once. You never even looked back. I'd ask questions. Who are you? What do you want? The answers were always fragmented. Flesh peeled, foam melted, helmet fused to skull. You let me cook in it. I started to remember the barn fire from 5 years ago. I hadn't been on the crash team, but I'd worked cleanup. I was at the station where engine 12 had departed from. There'd been confusion that night, false callouts, overlapping districts. I was part of the comm crew. I'd relayed a message, engine 12 clear, proceed west. It was supposed to be engine 13. 1 digit. 1 mistake. I'd sent them the wrong way. Into the fog. Into that turn. 2 men died. I never told anyone. But now something new. I went back to the radio room and turned on the old system. The static was waiting. I keyed the mic and said, I'm sorry. The reply was instant. No, you're not. Then the lights cut out. The backup generator didn't kick in. The room filled with darkness so total I couldn't see my hands. But I felt it, heat. Dry, painful, rising heat. Like standing too close to a bonfire. And then a new voice. Lower. Different. It wasn't angry. It was hungry. You brought him back. It said. I didn't mean to. I tried. You opened the signal. Let him echo. I stumbled out into the bay. The trucks were still. but the cab of engine 9 glowed. Inside, the passenger seat was smoking. I opened the door and found the seatbelt latched around nothing. The outline of a body burned into the cushion, like someone had been sitting there while on fire. The bay lights came back. I looked up. Every window in the station was fogged. Every one had a handprint. I took a leave the next day. Told the chief I had flu symptoms. Maybe I did. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't slept. But it followed me home. First the smell. Then the static, through the walls. My bedroom radio turned itself on at 2:37, even when unplugged. The last message came while I was shaving. The mirror fogged. I hadn't used hot water. And written in the steam. Engine 12 reporting in. That night my doorbell rang. No one was there. Just wet boot prints leading away from my porch. Heavy. Deep. I can't work anymore. Can't ride in rigs. Because wherever I go, the signal follows. Some nights I drive past other firehouses just to see if their radios flicker at 2:37. They don't. It's only me. I carry the frequency. Whatever burned inside that cab, it wasn't extinguished. Not really. It's waiting for a full transmission. And one night, when I forget to turn the radio off, I think it's going to get one. We weren't supposed to respond to the call. That's the first thing you need to understand. Kruger Hill was outside our jurisdiction, tucked along the edge of a no-man's land where 3 counties converged. Technically unassigned. But when the call came through, female voice, whispering, "Fire, fire, he's still inside." Dispatch routed it to us. We debated it. The address didn't show on GPS. The signal was weak, maybe bounced through an old landline. Still, we rolled out. Engine 14. Me, Thompson, and Richie. It took us nearly 30 minutes to find the place. Gravel roads turned to dirt. Our signal died halfway there. Eventually, the trees parted and we saw it. A 2-story Victorian, grey wood, sagging roof, tall black windows. Not a hint of smoke. Not even the smell. No sign of fire. We circled the house. No damage. No lights. Porch covered in leaves. Nobody answered when we knocked. No dogs. No signs of life. Then Richie spotted it, a small scorched mark on the back door. Round, like something had pressed a red-hot coin against the wood. "Electrical?" Thompson asked. "Too clean," I said. We forced the door. Inside smelled like old books and mold. The layout was strange. Corridors too narrow, doors too short, everything slightly off. The wallpaper was peeling in intricate spirals, like coiled vines. No fire. No smoke. No people. Until we reached the basement. The door was shut tight. No knob, just a hook latch from the outside. Thompson frowned. "Why seal a basement from this side?" We unlatched it. The hinges shrieked. A rush of cold air spilled out, and with it, the faint smell of ash. I led the way down. The steps creaked under our weight. Our lights caught shelves lined with jars, sealed, dusty, filled with dark liquid and unidentifiable shapes. We didn't talk. Then I saw him. A man, seated in the far corner, facing the wall. Perfectly still. His skin was pale, clothes scorched. The floor around him was blackened in a perfect circle. I called out. No response. We moved closer, cautious. Thompson reached forward and tapped his shoulder. That's when the man inhaled. Loud, dry, like the first breath after drowning. He didn't turn, didn't move. Just kept breathing, shallow, ragged. I moved to check his vitals. No pulse. Still breathing. Then something changed. The lights flickered. Thompson's radio let out a high-pitched squeal, and we heard a voice, not from the man, not from the radio. Just in the room. It whispered, "You opened it." The breathing stopped. The man slumped forward, ash spilling from his mouth. We backed away. Richie tripped on the stairs. The moment he hit the floor, the walls ignited. Not fire. Just light. Blinding blue-white erupting from the walls like a camera flash frozen in time. Then darkness. Pitch black. Our lights were dead. Radios too. We scrambled out. Somehow found the stairs. The house groaned around us, not burning, but alive. Outside, everything was still. The trees were wrong. The sky was wrong. The house behind us now looked burned, caved in, smoldering. And our truck was gone. Vanished. We were standing in the middle of a clearing with nothing but smoke and silence. Then, from the ruins behind us, the voice again. "You opened it." We ran. No sense of direction, no plan. Just sprinted into the woods, pushing past brambles and dead branches, our boots thudding against cold earth. No light. No signal. Nothing but the sound of us gasping and the echo of that whisper still lodged somewhere behind our ears. After what felt like hours, we found the road again. Except it wasn't gravel anymore, it was paved, wide, unfamiliar. No signs. No tire marks. Just a long, empty stretch of blacktop running straight into nowhere. Then we heard the sirens. Not from behind. From ahead. A fire engine. Ours. Except it wasn't. It looked like engine 14, but older. The paint faded, the logo wrong. The number on the side read 141, an extra digit that didn't make sense. We flagged it down anyway. It slowed, lights flashing. The cab door opened. A man stepped out, wearing our station's gear, but the helmet was vintage, leather cracked. And the face under it wasn't familiar. He looked at us like we were a mistake. "You're not supposed to be here yet," he said. We didn't answer. Just stood there, soaked in sweat, ash on our hands. Thompson asked, "Where are we?" The man ignored him. He motioned us toward the rig. "You should ride in the back," he said. "It's safer." Something about the way he said safer made my stomach turn. We didn't move. He shrugged and climbed back in. The engine rolled past us, slow and deliberate. As it did, I caught a glimpse through the back window. There were 3 figures inside. All wearing turnout gear. All motionless. All with faces identical to ours. I turned to Richie. He'd gone pale. "Did you see?" "Yes." We didn't speak again until we found a ranger station 10 miles out. They took us in, called our chief. Everyone had been looking for us. We'd been missing for 11 hours. But here's the part that doesn't make sense. Dispatch had no record of the original call. Number 911 log. No GPS ping. Nothing. Engine 14 was still parked in the bay when the other crew came on shift. We'd never left. At least, not officially. I tried to find Kruger Hill again later. Took my own car, retraced every turn. It wasn't there. The road ended in a field. No house. No hill. I asked around. Old-timers, Forest Service, even county records. There was never a house on Kruger Hill. There was never even a Kruger Hill. One night, about a month later, Thompson called me at 3 a.m. "Check the firehouse map," he said, voice trembling. I did. Pinned near the bottom, where no road should be, was a new tag, a red pushpin labeled KH-141. I pulled it out. The map tore underneath. Like the paper didn't want to let go. That same night, someone left a note in my locker. No envelope. Just a folded sheet of white paper. Inside, one sentence. "You opened it. We are inside now." I left the job 2 weeks later. I still see Richie sometimes. We don't talk about the house. About the man in the basement. About the fire that never burned. But once, in the corner of a diner TV, I saw a news report on a small-town fire crew out west. 3 men found dead in a burned-out Victorian that hadn't existed on any official records. Their gear matched ours. And in the interview, the lone survivor said just one thing before collapsing. "They opened it."